Convenient. Doctor's Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctor's Hospital. Always there for you. Call 949-6066. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And now, Barbados. And Digicel. Cayman's bigger, better network.
We ask our listeners and viewers to avoid any statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use indecent language or make any statement that is false or misleading. Call 1-800-534-8255, 949-6990, 949-8037, or WhatsApp us on 925-3261.
Live from Radio Cayman Studio.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you.
For the Record.
Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
With Orrett Connor.
Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is For the Record.
For the Record. 1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, O land of soft, fresh breezes and verdant trees. So fair. Today is Friday, the 16th day of February 2024, right here in the beautiful Cayman Islands. I am Orrett Connor, the host of For the Record, right here on Radio Cayman. On For the Record, we bring you face-to-face with our government officials, independents, and opposition members of the Parliament of the Cayman Islands. And sometimes we even take you down a nostalgic trip way down on memory lane as well. We usually do that via Tradewinds newspaper or the Northwestern newspaper or any items that may be shared with us by our listening and our viewing audience as well. So we welcome you to join us here on For the Record on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. You can call us on our toll-free number, 1-800-534-8255, also 949-6990, or 949-8037, or WhatsApp number 925-3261, or you can email us at talktooc@gmail.com. Join the conversation, and why should you join it? The reason you should, because your voice matters. So again, this segment of For the Records brought to you, and of course this segment of For the Record is the birthday shout-outs, and they're brought to you by Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola, proud to support your birthday shout-out. Available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Wholesalers. You should accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. And also by Superior Auto. Superior Auto, they keep your car in tune. Call them at 949-9570 or 525-9571. So let's look at the birthday shout-outs, and to remind our listeners and viewers, if you know someone who's celebrating a birthday today or celebrated one in the past few days, or will be celebrating one on the weekend as well, please let us know. And even though we may have already crossed the period where we do the birthday shout-outs, when the opportunity arises during the course of the show, we will give those individuals a shout-out. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a birthday. If someone is celebrating a special occasion, for instance, a wedding anniversary or a promotion on their job, or successfully graduating from school, or any type of achievement that you want to give someone a shout out for, we're more than happy to recognize them here on For the Record as well. So let's look at the birthdays. First, we're going to start with the belated birthdays, and Miss Kim Bullins, who is the clerk of cabinet here in the Cayman Islands, she celebrated her birthday yesterday, February the 15th. So we want to send belated happy birthday greetings out to Miss Kim Bullins. Also, we see Kalia Rose celebrated a birthday yesterday as well. Nikita Stewart also celebrated a birthday yesterday. Denise Ebanks celebrated a birthday yesterday. 2 days ago, the one and only, the great Mr. Lammy Seymour celebrated his birthday on the 14th of February. That would have been, of course, on Valentine's Day, on Ash Wednesday as well. And Marshall Forbes also celebrated his birthday on the 14th. Looking at birthdays coming up as well. On Sunday, Miss Dorcas Watson will be celebrating her birthday, as well as Sasha Whitaker, Miguel Martin, Virgil Ebanks, Andy Nicholas Blake, Debbie Rankin will also be celebrating a birthday on the 18th. Want to make sure we haven't missed anyone. Today, we have Nicole Bolt also celebrating a birthday today. So if you know someone who's celebrating a birthday or a special occasion, please let us know right here on For the Record, the birthday shout-outs, which are proudly brought to you by Coca-Cola. They are proud to support your birthday shout-outs. Also, Coca-Cola is available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Wholesalers. You should accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. And by Superior Auto. Superior Auto, they keep your car in tune. Call 949-9570 or 525-9571. With that, we're going to take our first commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, he hath founded it upon the seas.
Edward Raib Arch, MBE 1915-1980.
Pastor Raib was the son of James Heber Arch and his wife, Virginia Nee Thompson. He contributed greatly to the spiritual and educational development of the community of Georgetown through many years of devotion to the work of the Church of God and Truth for Youth School. He was a boat builder. As a young boy, he works on the gold field, and he designed and built the Neria, and a building contractor. He served for 9 years as deputy chairman of the Immigration Board. He and his wife, Laurel Valloni Nee-Bodden, had 7 children.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Since 1993, Rotary Central has worked diligently each year to provide quality bus shelters to our community. A traveling convenience to our school children, the elderly, young people going to work, guest workers, and visitors using the public bus. We, Rotary Central, help you, our advertisers, make it happen. Your marketing dollar travels a far way. Positioning your message, your product, your services, your presence in over 83 bus shelters. Every dollar you spend, every advert you place helps to build another bus shelter, providing modest comfort for Cayman travelers. Reserve space now on the only billboard medium in the Cayman Islands. Email rotaryshelters@gmail.com. rotaryshelters@gmail.com. The Bus Shelters, a partner in community convenience. Another inspiration program by Rotary Central Cayman Islands.
This Valentine's, Digicel has something special. Join our shared postpaid plan for unlimited data and minutes for both of you. Plus, get 25% off for 6 months. Activate a 5-day Prime bundle for 2 SIMs at $14.99. Enjoy free calling between both and 25% off for 6 months. Make this Valentine's memorable with Digicel Cayman. Visit us today for unlimited connections. Digicel, connecting hearts this Valentine's.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, Cayman.
You don't need to be great to start, but you sure do need to start to be great. We've all been there, the little put when we try to start the car. Starters and alternators will eventually go. When life happens to your car, Superior Auto can save your day. Superior Auto offers complete starter and alternator repair. Superior Auto, 525-9571 or 949-9570. Superior Auto, they keep your car in tune.
At Branso's Home Gallery, we believe in love at first sight, especially when it comes to closets. And we're spreading the love by offering 15% off on custom closets throughout the month of February. Let our experts design the closet you've been dreaming of, a functional space that's perfect for you. Save 15% on all custom closets this February at Brand Source Custom Closets. You dream it, we'll design it and build it. Visit Ranso's Home Gallery today for a free in-store consultation. Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Phone 623-6774.
So much happening so fast, too much. It is hard for me to follow my health care instructions. The private counseling with West Bay Pharmacy literally saved my life.
At West Bay Pharmacy, we know how complex medications can be. Our pharmacists are delighted to offer you personalized one-on-one healthcare counseling, free medication review, therapeutic callbacks, and we will liaise with your physician to ensure you receive the best in quality medical care.
Quality of life has a whole new meaning with the right pharmacy to support you. Thank you, West Bay Pharmacy.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Convenient quality care is just around the corner. Now you can WhatsApp your West Bay Pharmacy prescriptions to 516-0777.
It's time to update your information. If you've recently changed your postal address, phone number, or email address, please let your Water Authority customer service team know. Remember, non-receipt of a bill does not constitute a release from liability for payment. Visit our website, www.waterauthority.ky, to download and fill out our customer information update form, or contact our customer service team at info@waterauthority.ky or braccs@waterauthority.ky, or call 949-2837.
This is For the Record.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. No guest in the studio, but after our 8 o'clock news, we will have in the studio with us Member of Parliament, Mr. Christopher Saunders, also Ms. Theresa Pitcairn and Dr. Steve McField. They will be in the studio with me, so don't change that dial. Continue to stay tuned to Radio Cayman. Meanwhile, we have a few more birthday shout-outs, and Mr. Kern Owens wants to send belated happy birthday greetings to his brother, Mr. Danny Owens, who celebrated his birthday on Monday, the 12th of February. We also have on the 17th of February, Mr. Lenford Wilkes will be celebrating his birthday. There was a time when we were being filmed live for CIG TV, and of course, Mr. Lenford Wilkes was the cameraman in here. That was way back. Now we have fixed cameras in the studio, and of course we're on YouTube. Don't forget that as well. Also, we see that Miss Perlina McGall Lumsden will be celebrating her birthday on the 17th, tomorrow, the 17th as well. So we want to wish both of them happy birthday when it comes along. And as we pointed out before, on Sunday the 18th, Ms. Dorcas Watson will be celebrating her birthday, as well as Sasha Whitaker, Miguel Martin, Virgil Ebanks, and Nicholas Blake, Debbie Rankin also celebrating. I see a big Irie here, but I don't know if that's a Cayman connection or if that's just, sounds like some entertainer, doesn't it? Okay, before we go to our 8 o'clock news, I want to share with you a press release issued by the Ministry of Finance and Economic Development. And I want to congratulate Mr. Robert Tatum on being promoted to Deputy Director of Central Procurement of the Central Procurement Office. So this was a press release issued yesterday, 15th of February, and it reads, Robert Tatum has been promoted to the position of Deputy Director of the Central Procurement Office. Mr. Tatum's appointment took effect on the 22nd of January 2024. Goes on to point out that Mr. Tatum joined the Central Procurement Office as a procurement manager on the 6th of May 2019 and obtained a master's degree in operations and supply chain management from the University of Liverpool in July of 2019. He later pursued certifications to enhance his expertise and earned the MCIPS certification through the Chartered Institute of Procurement and Supply in August of 2021. This certification serves as a testament to his dedication and proficiency in the field of procurement. Recognizing the importance of holistic leadership and management skills, Mr. Tatum expanded his capabilities beyond procurement. In January of 2021, he completed the ILM Level 5 Leadership and Management Certificate, equipping himself with the necessary skills to effectively manage and lead teams. The Director of Central Procurement Office, Tariq Bashir, is quoted as saying, "It's been a pleasure for me watching Robert grow and develop with the Central Procurement Office. He's a real asset to the team, and I am delighted that he will continue with his contribution to the Cayman Islands community in a more senior capacity." The Financial Secretary, Mr. Kenneth Jefferson, is quoted as saying, "Robert is a valued member of the Ministry of Finance team. His commitment to continuous learning and professional growth is to be commended, and I am pleased to see that his dedication has been recognized with this well-deserved promotion. His accomplishments highlight the success that can be achieved through dedication and a thirst for knowledge. The entire ministry team and I are wishing him continued success in his new role as Deputy Director of the Central Procurement Office." Mr. Tatum is quoted as saying, "I am grateful for the congratulations and support of my colleagues and appreciate the recognition of my academic and professional achievements. I look forward to continuing to learn and grow while I work with the CPO team and look forward to providing ongoing service to both my fellow civil servants and the Cayman Islands community in this new role. And we here at Radio Cayman want to congratulate Mr. Tatum as well, Mr. Robert Tatum, on his accomplishments. Folks, what this goes to prove is that with hard work, dedication, commitment, you can achieve whatever goal you set for yourself. It also goes to the importance of sometimes focusing on one area, specializing in that area, making yourself as best as you can in terms of knowledge and the application of that knowledge in the field that you choose. Be the best at whatever it is that you do, because you know what? No one can take that away from you. We do have a caller. We have about 3 minutes before we go to our 8 o'clock news. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, OC. Good morning to the listening audience.
Good morning. Good morning.
I'd like to offer my congratulations to the Agriculture Show Committee and to the police, who did a remarkable job in optimizing traffic movement and making it a whole lot less painful. Thank you. All right.
Okay, thank you. We want to thank that caller for that as well. Thanking the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service, as well as the Agriculture Department and the Agricultural Society for another successful agriculture show on Ash Wednesday as well. Which gives me a real quick moment to say that the evening before, Tuesday evening, was not all that great for traffic heading east. It seems as if there was a combination of things. There may have been a fender bender somewhere in the vicinity to the east of Agricola Drive, as well as the National Roads Authority and the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service being on the roads, not putting out the barricades, but I think they had them at that point in time on the vehicles on the side of the road. But there was something to the east that just caused traffic to back up, and it was moving at a snail's pace on Tuesday evening, and many people were not pleased about that as well. But at the end of the day, everyone got where they were going. We know, yes, people have a tendency to be impatient when you're on the roads, but folks, all that does is drive your blood pressure up. Doesn't help you any, and it's not going to get you there any quicker, when you get frustrated in those situations. So just have to remain cool, calm, and collected when you find yourself in those situations. Of course, those persons who try to outsmart everyone else and take the side roads and then expect drivers to let them out, if you get a little opposition to that and people decide that they're not going to let you out, too bad for you. Stay in the line like everybody else, and then that won't happen. Folks, top of the hour, 8 o'clock news. When we return, we will have Member of Parliaments, Mr. Chris Saunders, Ms. Teresa Pitcairn, and Dr. Steve Macfield in the studio. Don't change that dial. Please stay tuned. For the Record, we'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news.
What you got for lunch?
I'm having crispy edge pot stickers and some evolved keto cups for dessert.
And what's in the glass?
Aquabucha. Basically kombucha-infused sparkling water.
Ugh, all I have is bologna on dry bread. Where do you get this fancy stuff?
It's all from Foster's, Camana Bay, in the Foster's Fine section, aisle 8.
All this at Foster's?
Yep, with new specialty items each month. You can even visit fosters.ky/finds to discover something new.
Trade ya.
Foster's, better selection because we care.
And studio time by Foster's is 8 o'clock.
9.9 FM in Grand Cayman and 93.9 FM in Cayman Brac and Little Cayman.
Silver wings shining in the sunlight.
Radio Cayman.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Island.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. A conservation plan to designate critical habitats for the most densely populated, unprotected nesting sites and to provide appropriate protections to mitigate disturbance from human and animal activity for 6 seabirds gets partial approval by Cabinet. According to a summary of their February 6 meeting, Cabinet approved, quote, in part, the proposals in the National Conservation Council's Seabird Conservation Plan for colonial nesting seabirds. NCC member and manager at the Department of Environment, John Bothwell, spoke to the proposal when it was approved by the NCC and passed to the Sustainability Ministry for approval of Cabinet back in December.
This is something that has been a little while in coming to the Council. It is a draft species conservation plan for colonial nesting seabirds. It groups these 6 species of birds together because they have similar conservation needs, so it's a bit more efficient. They all nest colonially, which means that some of the necessary protection has to be area-based, and we propose to do that using designated critical habitat.
There are 6 species covered by the Seabird Species Conservation Plan, including bridled terns, the red-footed booby, man-of-wards, the brown booby, least terns, and white-tailed tropic birds. Other approvals from Cabinet's February 6 meeting include leases for the Boardroom for Workforce Opportunities and Residency Cayman, temporary office space for work, and office space for the Department of International Tax Cooperation. Cayman's leaders approved recommendations from a task force for the new Cayman Islands national dress, dance, drink, dish, along with the Cayman Islands national dessert. The Cabinet also got an update regarding the commissioning and naming of a Cayman Islands Sea Cadets maritime vessel. And the Alex Panton Foundation's 2024 Youth Mental Health Symposium is tomorrow. Radio Cayman's Felicia Rankin-Salins has more.
The 7th annual event returns with the theme Building Bridges, Acceptance, Belonging, and the Power of Connection. The symposium provides an opportunity for dialogue around how to create a safe environment for all the young people of the Cayman Islands, along with providing key takeaways and actionable outcomes for attendees. The agenda for this year's symposium includes a diverse array of topics, engaging lunch activations and interactive question and answer sessions, and attendees are encouraged to actively participate. The symposium provides a unique opportunity to connect with and learn from clinicians, psychologists, psychiatrists, and leaders within the mental health industry in the Cayman Islands, as well as parents, community leaders, and youth ambassadors. Spaces are limited. Registration on the day begins from 9:30 a.m. I'm Felicia Rankin-Salins.
The symposium is tomorrow from 10 a.m. until 4 at the Ritz-Carlton. Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which takes us out of the newscast. I'm Carsley Fuller.
BBC News with Moira Alderson. The Russian prison service says one of President Putin's main critics, Alexei Navalny, has died. He'd been held in a penal colony in Siberia. The UN has warned the fighting in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo risks turning into a wider regional war. Its peacekeeping chief said there would be alarming humanitarian consequences. The Senegalese opposition says the presidential vote should be held as soon as possible after the Constitutional Council said the decision to delay it had been illegal. The planned delay had led to violent protests. The Sudanese army has promised that soldiers, shown in a video displaying the severed heads of rival militiamen, will be punished. Both sides have been accused of murdering prisoners of war. The main opposition party in India says its bank accounts have been unfrozen. However, the Congress party still faces a $25 million tax bill. There have been celebrations in Greece after the country became the first Orthodox Christian majority one to approve same-sex marriage. The Prime Minister said this showed the nation was committed to European values. Troops sent to reinforce Avdiivka in eastern Ukraine have said the situation is worse than in Bakhmut. It fell to the Russian invaders last year. Ukraine has entered into a security agreement with Germany and is later due to sign a similar pact with France. President Zelensky said the deals would increase Ukraine's security. Egypt is reported to be setting up a buffer zone on the Gaza border in case an Israeli offensive on Rafah leads to an influx of refugees. Satellite images show preparations are underway. BBC News.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
You don't sound too good there, Bobo.
Yeah, you know how it is. With the kids back in school, every other week they come in now with something, and then I catch it.
Sound like it gets you. But for real, brother, flu season is here and COVID is still around. You gotta stock up on things like medicine, vitamins, and minerals for you and the kids. You know what they say, prevention is better than cure.
At ValueMed, our pharmacists can help manage flu symptoms and provide guidance on vitamins and minerals to best support you and your family's overall health. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Town, or WhatsApp your questions and prescription refills to ValueMed on Walkers Road at 926-1662 or WhatsApp ValueMed in Town at 916-5511. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman with the latest up-to-date, accurate news and information. For your convenience, the headline news will be repeated on our sister station, Breeze 105.3 FM, weekdays at 8:30 a.m. Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or download the Radio Cayman app in the App Store or log on to www.radiocayman.gov.ky and stay connected to what's happening in the community. Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Water Authority is empowering the future and building a legacy in STEM through its annual scholarship program. Applications are now open for the scholarship, valued at up to $40,000, for a student pursuing an undergraduate academic or technical vocational degree or diploma in a STEM subject relevant to the Authority's work. The deadline to apply is February 29, 2024. Visit www.waterauthority.ky to apply today.
The new KFC nuggets have arrived. That unlike the no-gets. Ours are handmade using 100% white meat, unlike the no-gets. At KFC, we hand-bread every day to achieve the perfect flavor. After you try our delicious and crispy nuggets in the original recipe, you'll never settle for less. KFC, the real nuggets. It's finger-licking good.
The 8 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
Good morning. Let's take a look at what the skies, wind, and seas have in store for us. Current temperature is 80 degrees. Relative humidity is 88%. The barometric pressure is 30.00 inches and rising. The wind is northeast at 7 knots. Overnight low temperature was 76 degrees. Synopsis indicate light to moderate northeasterly winds are expected across the area for the next couple of days due to a high-pressure system over the southeast United States. Satellite images show patches of scattered low-level clouds across the northwest Caribbean. The forecast for today and tonight calling for partly cloudy skies with a 30% chance of showers, especially for today over the sister islands of Cayman Bracken and Little Cayman. Temperatures will rise to the mid-80s and will fall to the low 70s tonight. Winds will be east to northeast at 10 to 15 knots, and seas will be slight to moderate with wave heights of 2 to 4 feet. Low tide will be this morning at 10:39. High tide this afternoon at 3:26 and a low tide again tonight at 10:30. The sun will set this evening at 6:24 and will rise tomorrow morning at 6:53. And the outlook is calling for similar weather conditions through Sunday morning as the high pressure moves over the central Atlantic Ocean and for a cold front to move over the Yucatan Channel, leading to moderate southerly winds. And that's the very latest on your weather report.
Advice from your Aunt Angie. If you want to go scuba diving on your vacation, don't bedazzle your wetsuit. And you think you look great, but what you don't realize is that you look like a shiny, scaly fish. And it won't take long for a shark to notice you. Next thing you know, you're busting out every karate move you got. But if you're smart, you'll have CG medical insurance and get airlifted out to the closest hospital.
Get coverage for emergency evacuations. CG Brit-K. Good like that. All benefits are subject to policy provisions, including eligibility at the time of service.
The 8 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Brit-K, where people come first.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Enjoy a delicious start to your day with breakfast from Subway.
And by National Road Safety. Be empowered. Help make our roads safe. Take the road to zero. Say no more to road fatalities in 2024.
Top of the morning to you. Let's take a look once again at traffic. Coming off of the Ashley-Tibbetts Highway, traffic is moving on moderately and continuing on to the Industrial Park area. Moderate flow of traffic in both directions on North Sound Road. As we look to the Linford-Pearson Highway, traffic is moving on moderately and a little steady bit flowing traffic on Cool Road heading to Georgetown and coming off of Bobby Thompson Way. Edward Street in downtown Georgetown moving along swiftly. And remember, traffic cones in the area, some road works taking place there, so please drive with extra care. Into Georgetown on Shedden Road looking pretty good, and out of Georgetown on Shedden Road, moderate flow of traffic. Light to moderate traffic flow coming towards the airport. And on Walker's Road, traffic is moderate in both directions. That's what's happening on your roads. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12. We'll give you another look at traffic.
Speeding is the highest cause of fatalities on Cayman's roads.
Brother, watch how fast my new car goes. Got it. But what if
he hadn't been speeding?
his friends hadn't been encouraging him?
What if we all just took the time to slow down and think? What if, as a community, we rose to the challenge of keeping our roads safe?
What if we all walked the road to zero
and decided no more in 2024? From boat days to beach gatherings, leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway box to go with the option of 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips for all occasions and celebrations. Let Subway focus on the food so you can focus on the fun. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Enjoy a delicious start to your day with breakfast from Subway.
And by National Road Safety. Be empowered. Help make our roads safe. Take the road to zero. Say no more to road fatalities in 2024.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the People's Station, your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. As promised, we have in the studio with us this morning Member of Parliament, Mr. Christopher Saunders, Ms. Teresa Pitcairn, Dr. Steve McPhail. Folks, good morning. Welcome back to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. For the Record, and good morning to my good friend Teresa Pitcairn and MP Chris Saunders. And good morning to all your listeners in For the Record land, those listen to you Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and those people in the Cayman diaspora.
Okay.
Good morning.
Yes, so good morning. I can't compete with Dr. McPhail, so I'm not even going to try. I'll just say good morning to everyone, and it's a pleasure as always to have conversation with you in the art. I see still no coffee notice. I got to bring my own with me. I don't know if there's anything you can do about it, you and Norma. Okay. And so
we'll
thanks so very much.
We'll work on that.
How long now? This is 10 years going? Moving right along.
Good morning, OC. It's great to be here, and thanks so much for having us. This show is a special place for me. I mean, especially with yourself and Dr. Steve, going back from way back when.
We talked about
You know,
this.
it is, it is real. I just enjoy it. So for me, I really feel at home.
Good to know.
I miss my domino game at AHA, but
I know. Tell me about it.
Yeah.
But I heard yesterday. I found out where you're playing at now. I was listening.
Oh yeah.
Yesterday afternoon, so I know where to find you. And I know where to come now if I want to play a 6.
Anytime you're ready, just let me know. No, they have a good get together at the cricket field.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys be up there late at night and really good straight mental domino, no coding or not, which is actually pretty good.
Okay. Well, I'm going to let you folks drive the conversation this morning because we want to talk about a specific topic this morning. Of course, our Parliament will reconvene on the 26th of this month as well. So I'm going to pass the mic over to you, Mr. Saunders.
Yeah, no problem.
Can I start?
Sure.
Because I run it.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Absolutely.
Yeah. And I made some notes myself. You know me, 4:00.
Yep.
Because I didn't want to lose my mental train on this. And thanks very much for inviting me to have this conversation. You know, this takes me back to 1999 when we were Lookout with Roy running his.
Yes.
Yeah. So, as I said just now, from 1999, we've been having conversations around developing what Roy and the Honorable Roy Borden and Honorable Gilbert McLean spoke about at that time: fair trading, fair competition legislation. And even then, they were concerned about the gap between the rich and the poor, a shrinking middle class, the creation of monopolies, and how this would impact Caymanian businesses, especially retail. And I remember specifically one evening, Roy was making reference to people like Mr. Jimmy Powell or Biggie, and he was saying that in a couple of years' time, if things don't change, we're going to see these businesses struggle. And I said, please be more expansive about this, because it's one thing to just drop an idea and, not really make it make sense. And he said at the time, what I see happening now in Cayman, Teresa, Chris, you may have even have been there, that you and Al Saku. He said that what you're going to see increasingly are monopolies developing. And he said specifically, you should never have a country where the wealthiest person in your country is going to be less wealthy than someone else coming in. And I remember that's a thought that just stayed with me. And he gave me examples of the particular families that he was talking about. And then he actually broke it down and he says, imagine Captain Charles's business and imagine the Foster's business, and they're catering to a community that they can manage. When you have more persons coming in with a different agenda that's a little different from ours, and the speed at which these tend to develop, you run the risk of two things: putting those Caymanian businesses out of business and defunct or bankrupt, or you have a creation of alliances between the wealthy people and those wanting to survive on island. And he says, at the end of the day, what that results in are the small Caymanian business who would normally support those other businesses. He says they will be pushed aside. And he said, look at the way in which we're importing labor. And I mean, even then, he says, this is indentured labor where people don't have rights. Because even from then, I was working with him. He wanted us to change the labor legislation, which the employment law is currently capturing us as we speak. But he had those concerns right there and then. And at a time when we vilified, we excoriated Caymanians who were intelligent. And, to this day, it's in my mind, one of our gravest sins in the way we treat persons who want to do what is right for the community. And we see them as persons who are less than, because they're thinkers. I'm thinking also of a story that Steve and I talked about when they were introducing the company's law. And he and Mr. Collins and Mr. Levin, all of those were small business practices. But we had the major firms coming in with their own agenda about what was needed. And as a result, they were excluded completely from becoming successful and enjoying that wealth that's currently generated by folks who will go to the bankers and say, well, okay, what are the benefits and what are the dividends for this year end. And one partner may say, well, it's only $1 million. It's not like what we had the year before, like $5 or $10 million. And I mean, I'm being a little colorful with that. But this is where I came in, and this is what I'm now seeing. And it's the sadness that you see when we knew better. Today, all we have is the sale of goods law, and it doesn't provide any one of these rights. And this was from 27, and 1999, we had this sale of goods law. So we're in 2024 now. And
Actually,
the law reform.
Than that.
Well, that's when it was introduced, 1999, or 1996.
I think it was 79.
No,
which one of them was 79? One of them was 79.
Sale of goods law? No, 1999, I think it is. But I also remember, and then there was another one that came out of price gouging and stuff like that. But I do remember having this conversation, and people were worried about vested interests who support the politicians. And Chris, I told OC this morning, I'm not gonna beat you up. I'm gonna be really sweet. I'm gonna be nice. And I even said, you're not gonna be my little Chris. You're gonna be MP Saunders. But it's a complete disgrace to people who are paid decades after decades so much money, and a disservice to the Caymanian people. I thought I'd just throw that out there. Moving right along with MP Saunders.
No. I actually wanted to it was Law 12 of 1979, because I remember looking at it also, and it was revised in 1997. But
1997.
It was revised in 97, but it was Law 12 of 1979, because I actually was going through it myself. Yeah. Looking at in terms of preparing this bill, that's one of the reasons I knew about that law and the price gouging too.
That's right, and I looked at the one for 1997.
But what I wanted to start out, Teresa and Dr. Steve at OC, just a little bit latitude.
Sure.
Is to actually thank Dr. Steve for the work he did when he chaired the Cayman Status and Residency Board. I never got a chance to really thank him, but the work he did there, especially with the margins of convenience and everything else. It really was, and also the work that he was doing on the Immigration Review Committee for the reform. I just want to publicly thank you for that, Dr. Steve, in the sense of understanding the bigger picture of what it is that we needed to deal with. Because the fact is, OC, while we have a lot of these issues, immigration still remains one of the biggest issues that we need to tackle, and it requires serious people that understands the value of the Cayman Protection Law. And one of the biggest mistakes we ever made in this country when we removed that law back in the 90s. So I really want to publicly thank Dr. Steve for the work he did. The feedback I got from other people who worked with him, he was an excellent chairman on that board. And he really looked out for Caymanians and understood what needed to be done. So I want to personally thank you for that.
Why don't we have a lawyer on that board? At a very minimum.
Well, before I get on to that, I want to thank you also. Hold on. I want to thank you for the work that you did also on the Labor Appeals Tribunal. I mean, I saw where you generally fight for a lot of people that could not afford a proper representation. You see where the bigger firms literally, just by muscles, but having resources, like literally beat up on the employee. And these are the kind of things that happen behind closed door that people don't see, people don't know about. But the calls that you made to me in terms of, you can see where this injustice is there and where the system is limited. And these are the kind of things in this country that we actually need to fix. But to go back to your question, your first question, when I was the minister, all of those boards were chaired by lawyers. So there was Maxine Robinson on the work permit board. There was Richard Barton on the business staff and plan board, and then there was Dr. Steve on the Stardust board. So we did have all lawyers on those boards, recognizing the importance of it. And even on the appeal side, we tried our best to make sure we have lawyers. Even on was it the one who did with the Cuban, the refugee one? I think there was several lawyers on that too.
Refugee Protection Appeal.
The RPAT,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think Langston Sibbles was doing some great job on that one also.
And we now have Nova Hall.
Yeah, but I think that one is specific in the law where it actually requires.
Precisely.
And I think that's one of the things where in some of those other laws, we need to specifically ask for certain qualifications. But the thing about it is, OC, first of all, I can't take credit for this bill. It has been something that the Law Reform Commission actually started from 2015. It was published from 2016. It's been just sitting there gathering dust. And I just decided, it just needed some kind of movement on it. And that's the reason. The bill is about 98% completed. And I just decided to since at the time, just go and just to finish it. And I can tell you one thing, I have a lot of respect for people who draft legislation. Because even with this bill being completed, just to go finish it up and put on the finishing touches, it was just so much work and so much resources that it is just unbelievable. And one of the things that I'm open for as we move to a more independent parliament is that we can hire a full-time lawyer like, even Dr. Steve or Teresa that can actually work with legislators. Because I can tell you, in my first term, I took a lot of motions and the government accepted them, they were going to consider it, and they went nowhere. And I think if we really want to move politics and representation to the next level in this country, members of parliament need to start carrying more bills to the legislative assembly. But I can tell you, it's expensive, it's tedious, and we need the resources to do it. Most importantly, we have the talent. Something as simple as even a public defender's office. These are things I know Dr. Steve and Teresa had worked on in the past. These are things that people need to understand, that for us to move representation and to really give the people what it is that they want, these are the institutions we need to put in place. For too long, our politics have been based on personalities. It's about individuals and not institutions. And what we need to do for our generation, our legacy has got to be start building institutions. Teresa,
if I could ask,
yeah.
how much more effective then you expect when private bills are brought forward as opposed to the usual thing of bringing a motion to the parliament to say government should do this or government should do that? How much more effective it is when you actually have the bill in your hand? Are you
binding.
likely to see better results?
The bill is binding. The motion can ask the government. I looked at my manifesto that I had here yesterday. I was going through it. And I had all of these stuff that was passed, but not implemented. Right. And I'm sitting back and I'm like, you put a lot of work, you put a lot of thought into it. You might as well just get the resources. And that's one of the things that I really hope that Parliament set aside money for. It's one of the things that we were pushing for at one point. I don't know where we are with it now, that we can actually get the resources. Not to pick on the Attorney General, but constitutionally, the Attorney General is the legal advisor to both the government and also the Cabinet and to the Parliament. But there is a conflict because the Parliament does consist of opposition members. And there is an Attorney General that sits inside Cabinet. Exactly. How do you balance those interests? Yeah. So if we're going to really put Parliament to the independent level and then raise the bar in terms of the level of representation, because I can be honest with you, we have passed the stage in this country now where if you want social workers, there's a department for it. You need people that can focus on legislation, people that can focus on policies, and not the normal type stuff. And our people need to understand that, because a lot of these issues that we have, and I said it to Sterling yesterday, our focus has got to be not on creating equal outcomes, but on equal opportunities. It's about policies that will expand the middle class. The middle class in every country, in the majority of the time, is the only group of people that pay taxes. The poor can't pay taxes because they can't afford it, and the rich basically pass on to the middle class. And we constantly have laws in this country. We have every international best standard for every financial services, but we don't have the international best standards for maternity leave. We don't have the international best standards for pensions. We don't have the international best standards for vacation leave and all that kind of stuff. If we want to go international standards, then we need to start having it. And it's a sin that in 2024, the Cayman Islands, with all of this in a consumption-based society, where the majority of government taxes is built on consumption, there's nothing there to protect consumers. There's nothing there to protect people who are renting. There's nothing there to even protect people in terms of mortgages.
And bankers, that's not
and
needed. Yeah,
that's the reason I can tell you, when at first put the publish out, that the bill was being published, Dr. Steve was one of the first person to reach out to me and say, Chris, I don't see anything inside it for the banks. And, the thing about when you look at the monetary law that governs SEMA, it speaks about consumer protection. But we still have not put anything inside it now. Yeah. And even with this bill, if I'm going to be brutally honest, it actually excludes the financial services industry. And if there's one group of people, not the big on banks, but have their hands in people's pockets, it is the banks. And we need to beef this bill up to actually deal with the banks also, because it is something's wrong with it.
Okay, it's a good point for us to take a commercial break. Folks, don't change that dial. Please stay tuned. A conversation with MP Mr. Christopher Saunders, Ms. Teresa Pitcairn, and Dr. Steve Macfield will continue after this short commercial break.
Are you feeling sick, but don't feel ill enough to go to the doctor? Ask your pharmacist for advice. Here at West Bay Pharmacy, our pharmacists have been trained to offer helpful, easy-to-understand advice on the treatment of everyday minor ailments for yourself and all the family. Anything from headaches, cough and sore throat, to cold sores, our pharmacists will know when medical help is needed and will not hesitate to refer you to your doctor if your symptoms demand it. Like doctors, our pharmacists have a professional code, which means all personal information you give them will be treated in the strictest confidence. Visit us today at West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
Did you know that you can send money transfers to financial institutions anywhere in Jamaica with JN Money?
You mean I can send money straight to my account and cut out the middleman?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. You send your own money to your own account, giving you peace of mind that the money is in your account.
JN Money Transfers to Financial Institution is another convenient service offered by JN Money. You can have this done from any JN Money location. Deposit your money straight to your account without the hassle of asking someone to do it for you. JN Money Transfers to Financial Institutions, making life easier.
Social media, X, formerly Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Interact with our talk shows on YouTube. Download our official Radio Cayman app, or you can log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky. You can also add us to WhatsApp
on 925-3261.
All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Radio Cayman.
At Branso's Home Gallery, we believe in love at first sight, especially when it comes to closets. And we're spreading the love by offering 15% off on custom closets throughout the month of February. Let our experts design the closet you've been dreaming of, a functional space that's perfect for you. Save 15% on all custom closets this February at Branso's Custom Closets. You dream it, we'll design it and build it. Visit Branso's Home Gallery today for a free in-store consultation. Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Phone 623-6774.
This spring, say hello to Los Angeles. Explore foodie havens, local markets, art exhibitions, cultural shows, theater, you name it. Getting to LA is easy with 2 non-stop flights weekly aboard Cayman Airways. Midweek airfares are now on sale from just $410 CI round trip. Some conditions apply. Check out our socials for more inspiration and visit CaymanAirways.com to book. Now is the time to see LA your way.
The Cayman Airways LA midweek sale has been extended until February 24th.
This is For the Record.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, we have Dr. Steve Macfield, Mr. Teresa Pitcairn, and MP Mr. Christopher Saunders talking about the private bill that he
actually no, it's a full bill.
It's a
private bill is actually
bill.
a bit different. It's actually a full bill.
Full bill that will be introduced into our Parliament on the Parliament resumes on the 26th of February. So during that sitting, that will take place. I'm going to throw the mic back over to you, Mr. Saunders.
No, actually, I wanted Dr. Steve give a chance to give his opening remarks, I guess, before we go into the thick of things.
Well, I would just like to say thank you, Minister, for the beautiful picture you painted of me, but it wasn't all that great. When I started I'm grateful that you gave me the position on the board. But what I started to do was to start to closing the door and came on the immigration door and came on to March of Convenience and anchor babies, came on anchor babies. I thought that was a terrible thing that happened to us, all these loopholes in the law. And then when I started to question people under the law gave me the right to do, to bring them in and says, like, is this marriage, is this a genuine marriage or not? And try to ascertain whether or not we should be conferring our Caymanian writes on them. They started to complain to their MPs and their lawyers, and the lawyers started to write us and criticize us in the newspapers and so forth. And some of them went so far as to try to talk to me about it off the record. And I says, I'm not talking to you. Why should I talk to you off the record? I'm doing my job. And they tried to make meetings with me, and I refuse. And then when we made the first appearance before the caucus, and they told us go back and do some more research because what you did is not good enough. And then we came back, and then people started to get worried, asking about what is it we're doing. And then when I replied and says, well, what we're doing, the recommendations that we are going to make are going to be in the best interest of the Caymanian people. I knew that my goose was cooked. I knew that they didn't have any use for me anymore. And so I had long before that, 6 months before them, our term limit had come to an end. And then they told us to wait for next week. We would have had another term limit coming up, which usually happens. And I would wonder, September came and October came and November came and no one spoke to us, and December came. So we knew that they had made a decision not to support anyone who was working in the best interest of Caymanian people. So that didn't surprise me. What surprised me was when it would happen. So I would like to thank the minister for his support and the job that people give me. I'm going to see it through to the end, and that's why I'm here this morning to support consumer protection, because that was something that not only MP Sanders is revised now, but Gilbert McLean and Roy Bodden spoke about that eons ago. Tried to get that done eons ago, and they were beaten down and ridiculed and saying that they were going to mash down Cayman and they were going to chase people away and everything. And so now I wonder what they are going to say at this period when we're talking about it again. It seems to me that anyone who acts in the best interest of Caymanians, they have no use for. But I don't have no use for anyone who doesn't have interest in my interests. Why should I have interest in their interests if they don't have interest in my interests? And so it's a mutual standoff between those people and my opinion. And what I don't like. What I don't like is what the late Mandela said a long time ago. He said, any person who changes their minds, any person who changes their principles depending on who they're talking to will not make good leaders. And that's the problem I have in this country. Everyone say, vote for me, do this for me, and do this for me, and they come and they and then they change their principles because around the door somebody else is saying, oh no, you shouldn't support those people, you support us. And then they get to the next door and the people say, oh, you shouldn't support those other two people, you support us. And then there's this political merry-go-round that makes us look like fools in the eyes of those people who laugh at us daily when they go to their cocktail parties and they go to their $1 million homes and stuff, and then the Caymanians don't even have a home to go to. Caymanians are like indentured servants in their own country, and that's the reason why I will support anything that's going to be in the best interest of the Caymanian people.
Can I just tag on to what Dr. Steve was saying? Because he mirrored the thoughts that I made notes of. Why is it when you have persons who speak out about the injustices that actually fall on the poorest in our community or those that are disenfranchised, why are we always ostracized? Because as I was sitting down, I'm thinking of the numerous legislation that Steve and I have been involved with, and those were driven towards relieving the issues we're facing today. And it wasn't as though we were saying that, we want, because I understand the need for balance. And when we speak, you always hear me say about nobody's ever going to get everything that they want. So you got to try and find that balance, which at the end of the day progresses the community that much further. But for every issue we have touched, it was always whether it was labor, whether it was pension, whether it was landlord and tenant, whether it, and Roy, when he spoke about the importance of Caymanians trying to retain their properties and the reasons why, we were always lambasted by our community. So when we were waiting on you, Steve and I were having this conversation. What is it about our people? Why they respond that way? And Steve said possibly not our people, but we entrust our community and our lives to those that we elect. And those that we have elect has just failed and failed and failed and failed. And still we actually put the same people over and over and over again. And, so I something's going to give at the end of the day, because you can't keep creating a society where, and when you look at the chats, you can see the level of concerns that people have day in, day out, day in, day out. Something's going to give, MP Saunders at the end of the day. So I know, but and then the thing with the consumer protection bill, one of the things that jumped out at me as a reminder this morning was the whole caveat emptor rule, which is a legal rule suggesting, it states that the buyer is and we are responsible for anything we buy. We can't, the recourse that we have to the courts is by the usual recourse when you go in, you submit a writ. Who can afford to take this to the courts, Chris?
Yes.
Who?
I know.
So I get clearly emotive, and
I completely agree where you're coming from. And one of the things, look at the labor law that Roy had passed when he was minister. He actually had to pass it with opposition support.
I know.
I mean, and then it passed, and I don't think it was ever brought into force.
Never.
And that would have been one of the things that would have been a real game changer on the labor market. So it's one of those things, as you said, but it's weird. I think I reminded Sterling yesterday something that Machiavelli said more than 500 years ago, when he said the most difficult challenge in the history of human affairs is to change the established order of things, because those who be disadvantaged by the change are certain of their loss, while those who benefit from the change are uncertain of their gain. And you touched on something earlier, and there's actually a psychological reason for why when people speak out, they're actually lambasted. For most people, and I was blown away when I actually came across the reason for it. And for me, I only came across because I also had to temper my own style. When you speak out sometimes, there are people out there who wish they could do or say what it is that that person does. And rather than thank them for it, it actually makes them feel weak. They actually feel inadequate for that reason. And as a result, they actually resent you because you actually let them feel as if though they're doing something that, like, you're doing something that they should be doing too, and then you constantly remind them that, you're like that. And believe it or not, I mean, just like you have the Dunning-Kruger effect too, I mean, you come across those things where, people out there who think people are smart think they're average, and people who are not so smart actually think they're smart. I mean, it's basically people misplace belief in their own abilities. And it's part of that thing in society, and the most that we can do is really just say to people, these are the things they need to be aware of. I mean, as I said before, you will never hear me talking about income inequality, because we have had that from the time immemorial. The main thing for me has been income mobility. That once you put in the hard work, you put in the commitment, you put in the dedication, you put in all the stuff you need, we just they're pushing to give you equal opportunity. Where the problem comes in is that despite what it is that people do, they can't get ahead. And most people can recognize, just as we're sitting here and we're thinking of ways in which we can help them, there are people out there meeting to think of ways that they can take their hard-earned money out of their pocket. And people need to recognize that just as our businesses are meeting in boardrooms or wherever they meet to plan these things, you need your people doing the same thing to protect you from these very same things. So until people recognize that this is a battle, this is a fight, it's not as nice and nice. And I mean, we have reached a point in Cayman where we are addicted to nice. I'm going to tell you straight up, nice don't get many things done. You have to be effective. You have got to sometimes take the bull by the horn. As bad as it is.
Yes. Okay, we're going to take a commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
She hear clunk and her car stop. I was just about to send her some money, so I send it straight to her JN Money transfer card. It cost me less, and perhaps she use the card, pay the garage right away. She'll get discount through the JN Rewards program in Jamaica. This card make things easy. You can even get funds at any multi-link ATM.
JN Money Transfer Card. Fast, affordable, convenient. Tell your loved ones in Jamaica about it. Sign up is free.
This spring, say hello to Los Angeles. Explore foodie havens, local markets, art exhibitions, cultural shows, theater, you name it. Getting to LA is easy with 2 non-stop flights weekly aboard Cayman Airways. Midweek airfares are now on sale from just $410 CI round trip. Some conditions apply. Check out our socials for more inspiration and visit CaymanAirways.com to book. Now is the time to see LA your way.
The Cayman Airways LA midweek sale has been extended until February 24th.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Every day, thousands of residents use our roads, and every journey requires responsibility. Our actions behind the wheel can have serious consequences. So let's make a commitment to safety. The Cayman Islands government invites you to take the Safe Drivers Pledge. The pledge is our opportunity to show our dedication to creating a safer environment on our roads. First, visit gov.ky/road safety/pledge. Read and check all the boxes, fill in your name, and click submit. It's that easy. Let's make our roads safer together and say no more for 2024. Visit www.gov.ky/road safety for more information and to take the pledge.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, MP Mr. Christopher Saunders, Ms. Teresa Pitcairn, and Dr. Steve MacPhail. I'm going to throw the mic back over to MP Saunders.
Yeah, well, OC, thanks. And I really want to thank Dr. Steve because, like I said, we're working on some amendments now. He has pointed me in the direction, and I got to be honest with you, Dr. Steve, I am open that I can probably hire you this morning to get those amendments done because we need to do something with the banks in this bill. The original draft had actually excluded the banks altogether. And I look back at it, and a lot of the feedback I've gotten from people, even people in the business community, is that we need to have something inside there for the banks, the fees that they're charging. I mean, a lot of the transaction issue. So that amendment is one of the things that we definitely need to look at with this bill. We also do need to put some level of protection inside it for people who are basically renting. We have a lot of issues with
but we need to have a proper landlord and tenant act, honestly.
That is one of the things that they have spoken about. But what we're seeing now in some countries, especially even in the UK, for example, is that the regulatory bodies that deal with banks are now also starting to begin to focus on consumer protection. Mm-hmm. We've seen Barbados doing it. I've seen Jamaica looking at doing it now. Yeah. And I'm saying, this is the ideal. And then, like I said, the SEMA law, the monetary law, actually speaks about consumer protection. So it is always something that was envisaged for us to deal with the banks. But now I think we just need to have the meat for it to be done. like I said, it does require the legal brains. I am not qualified for it. I do know my limitations from that standpoint. You know what I mean? So, Dr. Steve, I am asking you publicly right now, if that is something that you can work on, I would welcome it. You give me the quote, and whatever needs to go out and raise to get it done, I need to get it done, because I can tell you it is badly needed.
Well, you remember a long time ago, I think before you got elected, I was working on something for you on yourself and Mr. Ezra Miller, and we because I had prepared something. I can't find it right now, but it's on my computer, I think, about adopting some of the provisions of the Consumer Protection, the Consumer Credit Act,
from the UK.
In the UK, which gives the courts more power to regulate a mortgage than when we have here. We have the situation now where they can just come and take your property, not even go to court. And you're out. And then I remember one time the equity of redemption was 1 year, and then it went to 6 months, and now it's like 1 month after they give you notice. They can come and they can get occupancy of your property and put you outside, and like one of the courts says, if you can't pay, if a mortgagor cannot pay, if a mortgagor cannot pay the mortgage premium, how can he pay rent? It doesn't make sense, really. And so that sign of dictatorship, lender dictatorship has to stop, and they stopped that in England. So what Parliament in England did, it gives the courts more power to regulate a mortgage. For example, if you were paying $500 a month on a mortgage in a house in London, in England, and something happened to you, you ran into a bad marriage, or you got ill, and or some other thing happened to you, and you could not pay the $500 a month, instead of allowing the banks just come and say, well, you can't pay us $500 a month now, we're going to take your mortgage and sell it, a house, and sell it for what we can get for it to recover our money. The courts would say, okay, we will regulate the payment. And after the courts hearing the matter, will say, okay, well, we understand that that your client can only pay £300 a month, or £250 a month. We are going to allow them to pay that for 1 year or 2 years or 3 years or whatever, until they get back on their feet and are able to pay the $500. That's what the court has. The court has that power in the UK. The court even has power in the UK under the Consumer Credit Act also to regulate the mortgage, to investigate the mortgage, see whether it's a predatory mortgage or not.
Exactly.
And they can alter the terms of the mortgage if they see this predatory mortgage. And so some of those things is what you need to put into the legislation. And so it's not the fact that, well, we loan you the money, and we own your property, and because you can't pay, you can't pay for maybe you can't pay for many reasons. And so the bank in England does not have the right to just terminate your mortgage, put you outside, and let you go. They have to go to court, and the court has a right to regulate the payments and regulate the mortgage depending on what they've heard from both sides. But that's not so in Cayman. That's not so in Cayman. Cayman, they just go and they say, well, Judge, he hasn't paid the mortgage for 3 months and so forth, and that's it. And the courts are not concerned with the reason why you can't pay the mortgage, because I always thought about that, MP Saunders, why he said that the court is not concerned with to preserving your equity in the property. Your equity in the property doesn't mean anything in Cayman as long as the bank says that they want to acquire your property.
Sell it for whatever they want.
And the fact that there are children, there are children in the property that are underage and can't work and so forth and so forth. All of those things has to be taken into account, because you have a right in stuff. And then another thing that I saw is prevalent in Cayman. You own a house of $500,000. You've been paying on the $500,000. every month you've been paying and you miss 2 or 3 months, the equity of redemption is gone. And then the banks take the house, and then they can say, well, you've been paying $500 a month, but now we send our evaluator in, and this is wrong with the house, the roof is leaking, this was happening, and therefore the house is on over $250,000 now.
Mm-hmm.
They can devaluate your house, sell it for what the evaluator says is worth, and then your equity that you have in the house is gone. That is not right. It cannot be right.
But we can't touch on these issues, in isolation. And
Nope.
so, and I'm just bringing this in on a sort of a global perspective in Cayman. We can't continue to have an elective system.
Come a little closer to them.
Oh, sorry.
Bring the mic a
Yeah.
little closer to you.
Yeah. We can't continue where we have elections just based on independents. Independents don't really have a plan for a 4-8-year cycle. So that's a problem. And we have a Westminster system. So if people are not committed to developing a plan which actually addresses some of these issues like inflation, because you can't talk about somebody maintaining their home if they don't earn the kind of income that allows them to make the payments to the bank. None of these things that we talk about can be discussed in isolation. And we also have to make sure that the civil service is also on board, because a lot of the consumer related issues that we have also deals with the civil service. A couple of days ago, a friend of mine called me and she said she's had something in customs for ages, and people come back and say, well, they don't have enough staff and there's this cost and all that. Something has to be done to make this right. And I'm putting our deputy governor on notice this morning, because we always hear of having a world-class civil service. And you've heard me many times on this talk show big up members of the civil service that I've worked with. Brilliant, reliable, and so on. But we also got to take care of the weaknesses as well. Because this is all for naught unless some person sit down and take a clear analytic look where we are now and how we're going to get there. Dealing with consumer protection, that's obviously something that we have to deal with. But that in of itself, yeah, that's right. We got to needle and sew these things on. And I'm going to come back and I say, I'm going to be nice to you, MP Saunders. Folks have failed miserably. And people earn this money on the taxpayers' back. What do they get in return? And I say this when people like Stephen and Roy or Gil, when we speak to the real issues that touch people, you're labeled as being so and so. We've got to get past. And for those who are very, very wealthy and assume that what we are discussing this morning is negative and all of that, they need to go and take another look, because when I read the tea leaves, these things make sense. So we all got to talk about balance and what is in the best interest of this community going on. I'm not anti-foreigner. I mean, I'm married to one.
Yeah,
so, so for me, it's not about anything like that, but it's about my children, their grandchildren, and we got to think that way. MP Saunders, and I sound like I'm beating up on you, but I don't intend to.
No, T, and there's a reason why I'm glad you guys are here. I remember about a year and change ago, my son had put this video in our family chat group where this guy was saying that, his father walked 10 miles to work. His grandfather walked 10 miles to work. His father walked 5 miles. He says, I'm driving a Mercedes. He said, no, I'm driving a Cadillac. My son is driving a Mercedes. My grandson is driving a Ferrari. Or my great-grandson will be walking again. And he says the reason for that is that tough times create tough people. Tough people create easy times. Easy times create weak people. And weak people create tough times. It's that 4 generation. I remember a couple of months back, I called, I think it was Dr. Steve and also Gilly. And I said, I really feel sorry for you guys. I mean, you've been blessed with longevity in terms of health and everything else. And to see Cayman go through those cycles where every 4 generations, every 80 years, there's a global reset. The last global reset was actually 1945 at the end of the Second World War. 80 years from that is 2025. You see the war is brewing now. You see the issues in the Middle East. You see the issues in Ukraine. You see even Venezuela. One would take what Guyana have now. You see it start brewing around. And the reason why I say that, because about 2-3 days ago, I was speaking to a constituent of mine who was feeling bad about a particular issue. And, you go back to even when they passed Social Security in the States in 1935. The average lifespan for a man was 60 years, a woman was 64, but they had to wait till 65 to collect Social Security. So they were literally getting something that they wasn't living to get.
Yeah.
Now people are living longer.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is the system that we have, and this is the first time ever in recorded history. You got 4 generations working together in the workplace, an 18-year-old along with an 81. And the reason I raise that is from the 70s, people recognized that there was going to be a global housing shortage. We saw the Chinese building cities wherever they were empty, but they knew it was coming. Yeah. We had people saying the same thing in terms of housing, because before, the kids would have gotten the house from either from the grandkids or, leave it for the kids or the grandkids. The grandparents are living longer now, that 4th generation. So we're literally 1 generation short of housing. And this is not just Cayman. This is across many countries, and we can't say we weren't warned. People in those countries were beating the drum, saying, guys, this is an issue. But again, we go back to that instant gratification. We want something right here, right now. And as long as people begin to think selfishly, then some of these results we can't say we're not going to get.
Okay, folks, we have to go to our headline news at 9 o'clock. Please stay tuned. The conversation with MP Chris Saunders, Dr. Steve McFeel, and Ms. Teresa Pitcairn will continue after headline news.
From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines. Local, regional, international news.
Cocoa Fest is coming up on the lawn of Pedro St. James. It's all taking place on Saturday from noon to 6 p.m. Get ready for a celebration of all things coconut. Jailed Russian opposition politician Alexei Navalny is dead. The prison service of the Yamalo-Nenets region, where he'd been serving his sentence, made the announcement. The outspoken critic of Russian President Vladimir Putin had been in a Russian jail since 2021 on charges that are widely viewed as politically motivated. His spokesperson said his team had yet to receive confirmation on the death, but his lawyer is now on the way to Siberia. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said Russia's penitentiary system was making all checks regarding Navalny's death, but had no information about the matter. In August, he was found guilty of founding and funding an extremist organization, which he denied, and was given an extra 19 years to his existing sentence. He'd already been sentenced to 9 years for parole violations, fraud, and contempt of court. Those are your headlines. I'm Karsley Fuller.
More news available at www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
HSA's Urgent Care Clinic is now open 7 days per week to serve you better. Visit our dedicated team at Urgent Care, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., and weekends and public holidays, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. No appointment necessary. If you are experiencing non-life-threatening symptoms and conditions, such as the cold and flu, sprains and cuts, earaches, nausea and vomiting, visit Urgent Care's walk-in clinic at the main entrance of the Georgetown Hospital, now open every day. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
With Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Ms. Teresa Pitcairn, Dr. Steve McFeel, and Member of Parliament, Mr. Chris Saunders. One of our listeners want to know about this private members bill, whether or not you have, I'm sure I paraphrased this correctly, have sought input or support from the government side in terms of voting on this bill when it comes to the floor.
Well, see, while Chris
Well,
for his
actually,
notes,
yeah,
so the phone is blowing up, and someone made the comment that I'm trying to find a group of people to run for political office. I am only being the same Teresa I've been forever and a day, always speaking to the issues. This isn't about getting involved with politics and creating any kind of new party or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
thanks.
we have a caller.
Yeah.
Let's grab the caller at the same time. This way you can respond to that question and the caller as well. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning and good morning to your panel.
Morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Mr. Oscar, I beat you up. When you have a holiday on a Wednesday, you need to give us a Thursday. Okay, so think about it.
Sure.
I think I heard Mr. Sanders say that I think he used the word that we're too kind. Is it
Nice,
the word he
nice.
used, too kind?
Sometimes too nice.
And it's not a word of lie because people take our niceness for granted on this island. The few Caymanans that are left do it, and all our expats is coming here taking it for granted, and it needs to be stopped to a degree. But I didn't call for that this morning. Mr. O'Shea, I want to ask you, Mr. Maxfield, the bathhouse. You remember the bathhouse in the Cayman Islands many years ago?
Yes.
Okay, I don't want to discuss it, but you can do it after I hang up. I just want to run this by you. Mr. Maxfield, does government have any property on the 7 Mile stretch that is being leased? You can answer that question when I finish. And do you, Mr. OCU was talking about Barbara and Harriet a couple of days ago on your station about our old time Barbara men. Did you mention Mr. Charlie Barnes?
No, I didn't, and no one reminded me of him either.
Well, he was a barber there on Main Street, so forth.
Yep.
And Mr. Maxfield, do you remember when the first bus that Mr. Barnes brought into the island, what year that was?
When who?
Mr. Barnes, Charlie Barnes, do you remember his first bus that came into the Cayman?
When he came to the Cayman? Do I remember when he came?
The bus.
No, when his first school bus, the first bus came around an island.
No, I don't remember. I don't think I was here then on the island when that happened.
He brought the first bus to the Cayman Islands in 1932. It was in 1932. And do you remember Mr. Maxfield in regards to someone that Mr. Boat and Mr. Charlie Barnes drove them up to the Savannah area to catch their boat? You remember that? No?
No.
Well, you should remember that. You know how I want to talk about the bathhouse when I get a chance. And there's some good talks going on there, and I'm going to take on the statue. I didn't really hate it, but this is not looking good for none of us that is here. And I don't know what the government, past, present, future, is trying to do for the kids, especially the future men who are left. We are here suffering, or young people can't get a loan, can't get a piece of property, but the bank can give them money to buy a $40,000 car, but yet they can't trust them with a piece of property. So I don't know what your plans are when you're going to the house this month, Mrs. Sanders, but I'm hoping that you're bringing something to the table that we, the people of this island, going to benefit from it because the promise, the comfort of food, when these people come out here running the election and they forget who put them into the house. I have some more I want to talk about, but I'll let you go on down and see if you can answer some of those questions for me.
Thank you.
Mr. Maxfield and OC, who pool table did y'all play at? What was the first pool table came to the Cayman Island? Who brought it to the island?
I'm not sure. You tell us.
Mr. Charlie Barnes. He was the first one to bring a pool table to Cayman.
Okay, got you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, caller. Thank you very much. I don't believe that we're going to have time to discuss, all of that history of the Cayman Islands this morning because our concentration is specifically on the consumer protection bill that will be introduced into our legislative assembly. Ms. Susan, I'm going to just add, Parliament, Legislative Assembly. I'm sending you email to your government email address for you to print, for us as well. Mr. Saunders, over to you.
Yeah. Actually, to answer the first query concerning support from other MPs, well, funny enough, there are some books that I work with standard, like the Companion Statistics, the Current Planning Estimates, and also the Government Strategic Policy Statement. And included in the planning estimates for each government every year when they produce the budget is that they put a list of their legislative measures that they intend to undertake during the period, in this case 2024 and 2025.
Mm-hmm.
And on page 49 of their planning estimates, so for those that are watching on YouTube, you can see this nice little booklet here with all of the stuff. It actually speaks about bringing in consumer protection, and it says to introduce provision intended to safeguard the interests of consumers. They also speak about adverse legislation dealing with adverse possession, legislation dealing with foreclosures, and they also talk about consumer protection regulations for fuel sector and consumer protection regulation for the ICT sector and so forth. So while people made us look at these things and us look at the numbers, I'm one of those nerdy people that actually go through and read all the different stuff to see exactly what it is that the government is planning. So this is something that the government themselves, in their own planning estimates, have already committed to in terms of that regard. So I know a lot of the members on that side. I've worked with them also campaign on this issue. So I don't think the issue is the MPs themselves. I think the biggest challenge that we need to worry about more than anything is sometimes some of the very supporters of some of the MPs. And the reason why I say that, and this is one of the points I've made to some of my colleagues, is that when you look about even campaign finance, and this is one of the things that we don't talk about in this country that we need to talk about, is how elections are financed. A lot of the people who donate money to politicians are people who are done very well financially. People need to recognize, and again, everyone has their own self-interest, and I have nothing against anyone who does well financially, but no one is going to want to change a system where they've done very well on the financially. So you have politicians out there who's, just like in the UK, got a Conservative Party. Their job is just to conserve and retain the status quo. You know what I mean? And people need to recognize that, while you may vote every 1,440 days or whatever, it is those days in between where you're not voting that you need to worry about who has the ears of your elected members and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And that has been where the issue is, because I can tell you some of the pushback I get, pushback I got from when this bill was first being published, was from the business community. There's a reason that this bill drafted from 2016. I've been sitting there for a reason.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I can tell you, they called me up. The only thing that has kind of let them back off a little bit is when I said, listen, guys, I'm going to amend this bill to start doing this stuff at the banking. Now, all of a sudden, now they're like, well, if the bank is in it, now we're talking, because for them now, they themselves need protection against the banks, because they're the one paying the most bank fees. They're the one paying the most transaction fees. They're the ones who basically paying all of these different percentage on all of these transactions. They're the ones seeing that their money being eroded away. All of a sudden now they're like, okay, Chris, well, if you're going to put the banks in it, then that's fine. They see something in it for them, and that's fine, because everyone has their own interest to look out for. Everybody's a hero in their own story. Everyone considers their cross to be their vest. That's just life. That's just reality. And like I said, more and more you look at it, it is really a disservice to overall consumer protection to leave banks out. And like I said, when I mentioned it, Dr. Steve was one of the first person to call me and say, Chris, where's the banks? Because you can't have a conversation about consumer protection and not include the banks.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And they're the ones that literally, for everybody. And the thing about it, though, see why that is important, that someone raised the issue earlier. The two things that every modern society needs is availability of credit and availability of capital. We have Caymanians, and this is one of the reasons why Caymanians don't own a lot of businesses in this country. And instead they're competing against people coming from other countries where they have access to capital, they have access to credit, that they can come inside and do certain things and so forth. And this is why it was important for us to have set up those institutions from get-go. I remember we had the AIDB, then that moved to the CIDB and all that kind of stuff. We created these institutions, but then we never fund them. There are things that we need to do. And you can't, if you go back and study the Great Depression, it wasn't a Wall Street crash that destroyed the U.S. economy. It was the unavailability of credit, the unavailability of people to get funds to buy bigger stuff, the unavailability of people to basically get money to invest in businesses. These are the kind of issues. And if you want to move a modern society, and that's what I'm going to say to people right now, they cursed Gilbert when he did Cineco 20 years ago, a generation ago. If it wasn't for Cineco, many Caymanians would have health insurance today. Yeah. When we go to create these institutions, it becomes a fight. And now all of a sudden now, they cost Roosevelt in 35 for Social Security, and if it wasn't for Social Security, many Americans wouldn't even have anything today.
Okay, we're going to take a commercial break. We do have a caller on hold as well. We're going to take that caller as soon as we return from the commercial break. So, caller, hang in there. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
At Doctor's Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctor's Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
At Branso's Home Gallery, we believe in love at first sight, especially when it comes to closets. And we're spreading the love by offering 15% off on custom closets throughout the month of February. Let our experts design the closet you've been dreaming of, a functional space that's perfect for you. Save 15% on all custom closets this February at Brand Source Custom Closets. You dream it, we'll design it and build it. Visit Branso's Home Gallery today for a free in-store consultation. Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Phone 623-6774.
This Valentine's, Digicel has something special. Join our shared postpaid plan for unlimited data and minutes for both of you. Plus, get 25% off for 6 months. Activate a 5-day Prime bundle for 2 SIMs at $14.99. Enjoy free calling between both and 25% off for 6 months. Make this Valentine's memorable with Digicel Cayman. Visit us today for unlimited connections. Digicel, connecting hearts this Valentine's.
The Ministry of Planning, Agriculture, Housing and Infrastructure presents live in concert Third World and Dwayne Stevenson. Friday, February 16 at the Agriculture Fairgrounds with Cayman's own Mr. Notch, Local Motion, Super C and Sound Revolution. Food and drinks available and a chance to win Cayman Airways tickets. Enjoy Third World and Dwayne Stevenson live at the Agriculture Fairgrounds. Friday, February 16. Gates open 7 p.m. Purchase tickets at eventpro.ky.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, MP Chris Saunders, Miss Theresa Pitcairn, Dr. Steve McField, and we have a caller on hold. We're going to grab that caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, Mr. Connor.
Good morning.
And to Miss Theresa, Dr. Matfield, and Chris Saunders.
Yep.
This is Carrie from the Brock. I'm on the bluff right now. And I'm watching my 86-year-old mother plant out fruit trees in our new yard with her new house that she's got. That's an awesome thing to watch. Anyways, I'm calling because I've always been an advocate for this Consumer Protection Agency Commission. For years, I've called for it on all my pages because it's such a needed thing. And as we're growing our population, we need to understand that we need to put all of these systems in place now, not 10 years down the road, because that has been our issue. We've just put it off like we did the dump, and look at where that got us. So I'm very supportive of that. I think it needs to be everyone, when it gets to the house, needs to support it, put it through, and we need to protect people out here. And the place that needs that protection the most is Sister Island. God knows. We pay triple, sometimes quadruple for the same item you pay, in Grand Cayman for. A lot of us have to come to Grand to shop because a lot of things up here are so overpriced, and we don't understand it unless the shipping from Grand to Kimmenbrack is a ridiculous amount, and maybe the Consumer Protection Agency would come into play with that. I don't know. I'm hoping it will regulate that cost so that we are not being, paying mortgages for going to the grocery store and paying a mortgage for food. Every week the barge comes, the rates go up, and that is the problem we have. Everything is going up every time that barge shows up here, and it's not fair to us as consumers up here. And you will get the entire community of the BRAC supporting that for you. If you come up here, you want to hear from us, come up here, have a meeting up here, and let us tell you exactly and show you what we have to deal with. And not being bad towards the vendors, because I understand, I've sat and talked with several of them, and I understand their situation. And, the price of goods are going up. But when I'm paying $16 for a pack of bar as bacon or gauntlet bacon in the BRAC, and it's only $4.49 in Grant, I have to wonder what in the world is going on. How is that transshipment being so incredibly high? Because it could never be that is what is putting the extra on it. It can't be that high. But we don't know because nobody will tell us. So we don't know. Anyways, Mr. Saunders, I love you a long time, although I beat you up sometimes. But sometimes you deserve it, okay? But thank you. You know what I would also like to see in the future as we modernize our parliament is that there is a people's vote. That way, when bills come to the House, the people can go into the parliament. Downstairs, it's all electronic, and look at those bills once the House has had their second reading, I would imagine, and decide, I vote for that. That way, we are actually getting heard out here, and we can say no to it, or we can say yes to it, and you have your statistics to see who was for and who was against. But we can't continue to run a country where the people are being isolated. And everywhere you go, people tell you that. I'm not bothering no more because my vote don't matter and my voice isn't being heard. So there, I've just given you all something to go and bring a motion to pass and put into action and tell the UK to go and fly a kite if they don't want us to do it. The people want their voice, and they want their voice in Parliament, and we want to walk into Parliament or go online or go down District Admin Kimmerbrook or Little Caymanowa and vote for these things, these bills when they come to the House or motions or whatever. I'm just saying.
Thank you. Thank you very much, caller. Thank you very much. Anyone want to respond?
Actually, yeah. First of all, she's going to be quite happy because one of the things that is on the order paper coming up is a motion that is being brought by Minister J, a government motion. And that government motion is actually in response to a motion that I had brought at a previous sitting of Parliament that was seconded by McKeever that asked for a select committee to deal with the fuel issue. And the reason why we raised that issue, we had a Public Accounts Committee hearing when we were looking at off-reg. And one of the things that had jumped out that really sat with me with that meeting that was a bit uneasy, which triggered the motion, was the cost of fuel. And one of the persons who came in to testify had basically said that we can't compare the fuel prices in Cayman with other Caribbean islands because those islands are selling 87 and we are selling 89 and 93. Then there's a gentleman from the BRAC, I remember I'd call up, was listening, I'd call me and said to me, Chris, the ship that leaves from Cayman goes to other Caribbean islands where they're dropping off 87. So I'm like, wait a second. There's one particular fuel company that has 4 fuel tanks. 2 of those tanks are for diesel, 1 is for avgas, and 1 is for gas. Well, avjet for aviation fuel, and 1 is for gas. I'm like, wait a minute. If you have 1 gas tank and you're selling 2 types of fuel, the question is, what is going into that 1 gas tank? Is it 87 that's being boosted to 89, or is it 89 that's being boosted to 93? But either way, you're selling 2 types of gas with 1 gas tank. So clearly something else is inside there. Then we basically found out that in some cases it is actually 87 that's being landed there. So then the question is, who is checking it to make sure that the 87 is being boosted to 89 and being boosted to 93? Yeah. And I remember Colford Scott coming in and testifying, and he was saying that the guys who actually race car that needs the higher octane fuel actually want to buy from refuel because refuel only brings in 93. So I'm like, wait a minute. If the guys who know fuel and understand fuel is only buying 93 because as far as they're concerned, on the refuel alone is selling the 93, then the question comes back, who's checking to make sure that when I go to the other gas station and buy 93, that it is really 93? And of course, if anyone caught the last budget session with off-reg, And the answer that came up in terms of the fuel and the quality of fuel and the testing of fuel, the answer was literally disastrous, where they basically confirmed that I think it was less than 1% of the fuel is actually being tested.
Wow.
I mean, it was literally a disaster. So I really wanted, thank Mark for seconding the motion when I brought it. But more importantly, I really have to give kudos to Minister J, because it could have been a motion where the government would say, yeah, we'll consider it. And like with anything else, it sounds good, but goes nowhere. But I've seen on the order paper that Minister J is actually bringing it. And I'm looking forward for that committee, because to go back to Kerry's issue, it has always bothered me in the BRAC, where the same ship, that is not as if though fuel is being shipped from Grand Cayman to Cayman BRAC. The ship stops in Cayman BRAC too. So the question is, why then are they paying more for the same fuel that is basically being delivered to Cayman BRAC? And when we had the guy in from one of the major companies come before the Public Accounts Committee, and we asked him, we literally started with the base price of fuel, looking at using the Platts prices, Platts Gulf Coast prices, and we literally started, explain this cost along the way. They reached a point where he could not explain $2.50 worth of fuel. When we done calculated up, his only response was, well, Cayman is a high-cost jurisdiction. And you see, and the reason why I say that is that we, as Teresa touched on earlier, we can't look at these things in isolation, because the banks will sit down and tell you that, listen, I have $1 million fee that I need to pay SEMA every year. I need to be writing, when interest rates are at 3% or 4%, I had to be writing $25 million worth of loans or $40 million worth of loans just to cover my banking fees. Then I had to do another $10 million just to pay my light bill. So you're going $35 million, you're going $35 million right there. Then you look at the gross lending, you got 6 Class A banks. That's over $200 million worth of loans just to pay your bank license fees and your light bill. But then the gross lending for the year is only about $180 million. So then the banks basically throw up all of these fees again too. So it is one of those things that you can't just look at it in isolation. It has to be part of the trigger that drives everything. And like I said, this is one you need to take a holistic approach. It's not piecemeal. Social planners refer to it as a wicked problem. You think you're solving one problem, you create another problem. And that's what we need to look at from that approach.
Well, when you spoke about the select committee that was established in relation to looking at fuel, that's quite timely, because one of our listeners wrote and said, good morning, OC and your panel. I've been listening to many concerns and issues that are plaguing our community. Can you please ask the scholars there if they will lobby for an oversight commission?
But that I was two things, because I got to run. So when folks telling me that I'm running for office, I'm going to my job. But
running to your office.
Yeah. So 2 questions, and I'll listen to it while I'm on the show, while I'm driving. The expansion of Cineco, I really want to get a sense around that, because actually remember when Gillett actually did that. And the other issue was developing some type of authority under the consumer protection law, which actually addresses all of these things. And if you could just provide the time is too short, but we need to.
We still have a half an hour.
I gotta run. Yeah. But provide us with a summary of where we are now, because what we have is just not on, and what the Consumer Protection Act, if it does come into effect, the benefits under that, some of the things that will give people relief, Yep. So those are, when I run to go in my car and I'm listening.
That's fine.
Okay, well,
so you're not going to run for political office?
Steve's the hardest.
Listen, you're not going to get any mercy from me, because Teresa, I can tell you right now publicly, my first campaign was back with you in 2013. I enjoyed working with you. I learned a lot, and I really wish that you would consider doing it one more time, because I'll be honest with you, the country needs people that think big picture, think visionary. We spend too much time in the weed, and sometimes I can say to the voters, we major in the minor, and they got bigger issues out there. You know what I mean? And we really need to tie that down. So I really hope to God that you do run.
Okay.
So I'm flattered, but I'll continue to always
So the
be
country
an
is looking for
advocate.
vision and action.
See, I don't have to lead you.
Okay, this is a good time for us to take the commercial break so you can come off camera as well. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
There you go, sir. Thanks for choosing JN Money Transfer.
Boy, thanks to JN Money Transfer, I can stay right here in Cayman and pay mama bills back home in Jamaica. Her water, light, phone and other bills never late. Every month I pay everything in one place.
Make payments to over 30 companies in Jamaica through JN Money Transfer. Fast, affordable, convenient. Call 1-800-744-1163 for details.
At Doctor's Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctor's Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Every day, thousands of residents use our roads, and every journey requires responsibility. Our actions behind the wheel can have serious consequences. So let's make a commitment to safety. The Cayman Islands government invites you to take the Safe Drivers Pledge. The pledge is our opportunity to show our dedication to creating a safer environment on our roads. First, visit gov.ky/road safety/pledge. Read and check all the boxes, fill in your name, and click submit. It's that easy. Let's make our roads safer together and say no more for 2024. Visit www.gov.ky/road safety for more information and to take the pledge.
This spring, say hello to Los Angeles. Explore foodie havens, local markets, art exhibitions, cultural shows, theater, you name it. Getting to LA is easy with 2 non-stop flights weekly aboard Cayman Airways. Midweek airfares are now on sale from just $410 CI round trip. Some conditions apply. Check out our socials for more inspiration and visit CaymanAirways.com to book. Now is the time to see LA your way.
The Cayman Airways LA midweek sale has been extended until February 24th.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. Ms. Teresa Pitcairn has left us. Still in the studio, Dr. Steve McField and MP Chris Saunders. I want to grab this opportunity right now because we're going to be going right up until 10 o'clock with the discussion on the consumer bill. So I've been asked to wish Ms. Beth McField a happy birthday, and also to remind everyone that Mr. Ray Hayes will be celebrating his birthday on February the 18th, Sunday, February the 18th. Mr. Ray Hayes will be celebrating his birthday as well. Mrs.
Good
Saunders,
people born
back over to you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to touch on what Teresa had said concerning the Cynical expansion, just to kind of put things in context in terms of what was driving it at the time. I remember when I sent an announcement out that the funds were approved for us to, and Parliament had voted the funds for the Expand Cynical. I remember Gilbert actually reaching out to me and thanking me. And I actually thank him also too, because he laid the foundation. And I think what's important for people to recognize in politics is that not every single time you go down the field, you're going to score a goal. But our objective is to keep carrying the ball closer and closer and closer to build on what was there before. Now, what drove it, OC, just to put it in context, the purpose of insurance is to spread risk. That's really what insurance is, ultimately. Or one of the main purposes of insurance is to spread risk. When I looked at SEMA's annual report one year, what I saw frightened me. I think I'm going back from memory, and so these are like a ballpark figures, but I'm pretty good with memory sometimes. The total amount of health insurance premium that was paid one year was $287 million. CI. Cynical or the equivalent, because SEMA reports their stuff in US dollars, but I convert to CI, Of that amount, Cineco had 101 million in premiums for 15,000, a little over 15,000 customers. And the other private sector had 186 million in premium for 50,000 customers. So I'm like, wait a minute. How can 50,000 people in the private sector be 186 million and 15,000 cost that with 101 million in terms of premiums? And they recognize that the answer is somewhere in the middle. Because what we have done in this country is we have moved to a point where we have privatized profit and socialized losses, where Cineco get all the high-risk people that's there, and the private sector basically cherry picks. Now, if you look at health insurance, I consider health care a basic human right. This is something that keeps most people awake at night. And like I said, when you're in a 95% service-based economy, where 95% of people makes their money from service, God forbid that something happens to you where you can no longer be fit or healthy enough to take care of your family. So in short, a lot of families are literally one medical emergency away from being bankrupt. And that's the reason when I talk about these international standards of maintaining a safety net. So the question is then, how can we make health care more accessible, more importantly, more affordable? And the good thing about it is that we do have a good quality healthcare system on Ireland. Because the three things that you need for healthcare is accessibility, affordability, and the quality of the healthcare. So the main thing about it, we have the quality, we need to focus on the accessibility and also the affordability. So one thing that we looked at, we said, you know what? In order for the taxpayers of this country to get some kind of relief, Cineco now needs to offer a product that will woo other healthier people within the private sector. Because when you look at Cineco's annual report, there are 4 plans that Cineco actually operates. The civil service plan, the civil service pensioners plan. They also operate one for the SHIC plan, and there's one like for the seamen and so forth that they do. So they're pretty much 4 plans. The civil service and the civil service pensioners plan are the ones that actually make a profit every year, and the other 2 actually make a loss. So in other words, the civil service and the civil service pensioners are the ones who are literally subsidizing the retirees from the private sector. And the reason why I say subsidize is that Cineco, as a body that's regulated by CIMA, has certain regulatory obligations that they have to meet, certain regulatory conditions they have to meet. Being profitable is one of them. So in other words, since those other plans are losing money, they're actually charging the civil service and the civil service pensioners more to offset the losses there so they can remain regulatory compliant and meet CIMA standards. So the whole idea behind it, and then when you look at CIMA's annual report, and especially the insurance industry, and you look at the amount of profit every year that's been coming from property. I mean, the last time they really paid it was 2004. The last time we had Tropical Storm Grace, most people didn't even meet the deductible. So again, I'm waiting to see what the final numbers will be like when those annual reports come out. But there's a lot of profit being made on property. There's a lot of profit being made elsewhere. And I said, why should Cineco sit down and or the taxpayers, to just focus on the areas that loses money, and then all of these other areas out there that can actually make money to kind of take some pressures off and bring down the health side is where we need to focus on. So the Parliament, and kudos to the opposition at the time too. I mean, Roy and Mr. Roy, Mr. Leader, and all of them, they pretty much supported it. It was not something that was a political contention. I think all members were on board for it. So from that standpoint, we recognize that this is where we need to go. And then if you look about it also, OC, I mean, well, you're a civil service pensioner, but you look at Dr. Steve, in his situation, for him to get good health insurance at his age, I'm sure he's paying at least in excess of $1,500, $1,600 a month, easily. Don't know ifs, ands, and buts, to get a good quality healthcare plan. But then you look at the actual pension withdrawal, it's about $1,000 and somewhere $1,100 max. So even if you're drawing a regular pension, it is insufficient to even pay for a quality health insurance product. And then I remember I had one relative who had reached the maximum $2 million for Cineco. Now, that person was actually working in the private sector for 40 odd years or whatever, retired, paying premiums of $200, $300 a month at the time, I think, when they were paying. But yet, they hit the $2 million because of the illness. You know, and this is why when we still got focus on even things like dealing with well-being and so forth, which is a different story. But the issue is we can't have a situation where when our people go to retire late in life, and we do have an aging population, they don't have health care. And then there's one of the things that we could talk about is the dignity gap for our people. Because I think it is unfair, it's disgraceful that the people who build what it is that we enjoy today, the people who give us what it is that we have today. We have them showing up with cap and gown and all that kind of stuff, taking their dignity. This is not how we thank people. We can't claim to be a Christian society and have this unchristian way about
and
us.
a caring society.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
And this is the reason why I push constantly for the frail care for seniors and frail care for children. And one of the things, OC, I can tell you right now, and I'm going to announce it right now, that I'll be pushing for as a major campaign issue for me, is to create a social security safety net for people where, you know, we gradually increase the pension contribution by about 5%, you know, even adding 0.5% on each year. So it's not like a lump sum. But when people go to retire, they can get a monthly stipend that can cover their utilities, cover food, and at least know that they got frail care. And you phase it in, you can start, you know, people above the age of 75, then, you know, 72, then 70, gradually till you can get it to 65 when you have built up enough. You know, but we can't have a situation. It is unconscionable for people to be up at night, worrying about their health. And in some cases, people are sick and they're still going to work. People are missing diagnosis. You can be able to catch some of these things on a regular basis. And this is why we want to expand the network so people can go and get regular health checks. Because what you do have is 80% of the cost being borne by 20% of the people. And if they have access to just getting a regular checkup on a regular basis, a lot of these things can be caught earlier before it becomes overly expensive. You know, this is where we need to change that mindset. But the minute you think about it, and for people who are working right now, and one of the best examples, OC, I'm going to use the segregated insurance fund. That was designed to cover 50% of the indigent costs in this country. When it was established 20 years ago, we were spending $6 million a year on indigent costs. So the segregated insurance fund was generating $3 million, and the government was finding an additional $3 million. It was manageable at that point. We are now spending more than $75 million a year on indigent health care, but the segregated insurance fund is only generating $5 million. So there's a $70 million shortfall, and this is just on indigent health care. This doesn't go the full gamut of NAU. If we were to sit down and add up the amount that we're spending in terms of welfare and maintaining our people, we're talking in excess of over $100 million per year. Okay. In a 10-year period, that's $1 billion.
Question then. We hear talk about increasing the population to 100,000. There's no doubt that we're going to get there, whether it is done deliberately or accidentally or what. What you're talking about now, when you look at the residency requirements that we have for people, especially those in the private sector who are not going to necessarily have access to the government systems, you know, after they retire. When we look at some of those individuals who are now being granted permanent residence that are borderline when it comes to just making it, when they reach retirement age, what does this speak, you know, for us in the Cayman Islands? And I know that's going to take a while, so what we're going to do, we're going to take our last commercial break now, and that will give you an opportunity to respond to that as well. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
This spring, say hello to Los Angeles. Explore foodie havens, local markets, art exhibitions, cultural shows, theater, you name it. Getting to LA is easy with 2 non-stop flights weekly aboard Cayman Airways. Midweek airfares are now on sale from just $410 CI round trip. Some conditions apply. Check out our socials for more inspiration and visit CaymanAirways.com to book. Now is the time to see LA your way.
The Cayman Airways LA midweek sale has been extended until February 24th.
Since March 2004, West Bay Pharmacy has kept their doors open to the local communities, even before, during, and after Hurricane Ivan. At West Bay Pharmacy, our staff provides so much more than pharmaceutical excellence. From the moment you walk through our doors to completing your cash out, our staff will have put your healthcare concerns at ease. We would like to take this moment to thank our loyal friends and customers. To us at West Bay Pharmacy, our patients are our primary concern. We provide thorough background checks and precise calculations to ensure your medical safety. Thank you for being a part of our family and for choosing West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
This Valentine's, Digicel has something special. Join our shared postpaid plan for unlimited data and minutes for both of you. Plus, get 25% off for 6 months. Activate a 5-day Prime bundle for 2 SIMs at $14.99. Enjoy free calling between both and 25% off for 6 months. Make this Valentine's memorable with Digicel Cayman. Visit us today for unlimited connections. Digicel, connecting hearts this Valentine's.
Tune in every Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. for Radio Cayman's Midday Newscast. Radio Cayman, the people's station. Your trusted official source for the latest news. The 12 p.m. news is proudly brought to you by Health City Cayman Islands. World-class healthcare within your reach.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. We're on the last leg of the show this morning with MP Christopher Saunders and Dr. Steve McField. Earlier we had Ms. Teresa Pitcairn. She has left us as well. Before we went to the commercial break, we heard Minister Saunders talking about the impact of the high health care costs in the Cayman Islands, and the question then was raised in relation to a growing population, larger population, some persons qualifying for permanent residency, just basically on the borderline. What does that portend for the Cayman of the future when these people retire, and many of them will require government assistance as well?
Well, see, I'm going to say something. No. And I'm conscious that you are a registered voter Boddington West. And I'm conscious that Dr. Steve is also a registered voter Boddington West. I'm going to say something right now that people may not like when I say it, but I'm going to say it. Last week I turned 51. And I realized that as I get older, my filter's getting less and less. So I'm going to make it clear right now that there's no ambiguity or anybody confusion. If Caymanians can't get opportunities to prosper in this country, live a better life, if Caymanians can't get their piece of the pie, nobody getting peace. It's as simple as that. Okay? That is my political position. We have enough resources in this country that our people do not need to be struggling unnecessarily. We just passed a budget where it is over $1 billion we're spending per year for a population of 40-something thousand Caymanian people. With those kind of monies, there is no reason, and OC, I want to make it clear, I'm not saying that everybody in Cayman can be rich. All I'm saying is that nobody in Cayman need to be poor, nobody in Cayman need to be struggling. And when you see this level of resources and this level of misery people are having, this ain't accidental, this is not deliberate. And I go back to, this is the headline, January 7, 2022. We weren't fully near in government 1 year. The headline read, 41 PR grants revoked for non-payment. I remember that was 41 direct and I think 22 dependent. 63 people was affected for non-payment. Oh, see, the knives came out. I wouldn't even say who came to me, but I can say the knives came out. I remember I said to them, they got problems, they can go and see Dr. McField and see if his board will give it back. And Steve already said to me point blank when I mentioned it, say, boy, they may be coming to you for these things. Their character is now in question. The law requires them. The ability to play plus their character is now in question. And that's the reason why I started off the show by thanking him. Because at the end of the day, we're too nice, and it takes very little people that can deal with confrontation. That was January 2022. Then, February 28, 2022, the headline in the Compass read, 10,600 work permits deferred over the last 10 months. Also at that point, we had over 3,000 Caymanians on stipend. And bond renewals for people who are already on island that needed the ability to take care of themselves while they're here and not become a burden. We were not prepared to give away the jobs that when the stipend ended, our people have no work. No grants. Because we're still in the middle of COVID. Oh, see? The night in caucus, you come in meeting, and like some of that meeting before they got you got there, like you can tell a conversation happened.
Yes.
Oh, see? The licks came out that night, and this is nothing secret, I've said it publicly.
Mm-hmm.
The only 2 members of the PAC government that didn't come for me that night in caucus was Kenneth Bryan, Honorable Kenneth Bryan, and Bernie Bush. I'm not saying anything else. People can say who else were there and who say whatever. All I can say is the only 2 people who had my back was them 2.
Mm-hmm.
I closed that meeting by saying, because I asked when the floor had opened up, which company is this? Oh, they can't tell me. I'm like, for? Well, we don't want nobody to get victimized. I said, hold on a second. If you're going to bring my complaint to me that this isn't happening, at least tell me the company. Mm-hmm. And I said, you know what? Guys, I'm going to make y'all a deal. Go and ask the company if they have ever been fined by immigration. Over 400 companies in this country were fined by immigration for breaches that we caught them. You cannot expect that we caught you red-handed, you pay a fine, and then we're not going to scrutinize what it is you put before us. You understand where I'm coming from? Go and ask them. And some of the names of the companies you see on it, big respectable company. And I said to them, the next time you all come at me with any of this and you don't want to tell me nothing, this list going to be made public.
Because it's not publicized now.
And I said to them, my colleagues at the time, anyone who want to come down on my computer, I will show you the list of companies. Only 2 MPs came to see who those companies were that were being fined.
Did the UK government have any position in relation to these revocation of permanent residence?
But we'll see, you know better than that. We'll see. All I'm going to say is this. When a certain person came and started, because you can tell when they run to either one law firm that lives off of this stuff, let me tell you something, and that is why I tell you, OC, I slept better knowing that Dr. Steve was chairing that board. I slept better knowing that Charlie Watt was on that board. I slept better knowing that Jordan Barnes was on the board. I slept better knowing that Ross was on the board. Denise on the board. We had a good board. They don't agree necessarily on every single thing, but at the end of the day, it was a good balanced board. Because we needed people to understand that if we don't sit down and start protecting Caymanian rights, here's what's going to happen. Those people that are being disenfranchised in this country are still the majority of voters in this country. And the day that they decide that they're going to make the X be known, and I tell this to business people, when I speak to them sometimes, they say, well, Chris, you scare me. I say, no, ask me who scare me. You got to be worried about the person who scares me, because I can tell you, that's the one that I'm worried about. You got my Ring doorbell camera. Guys will come to my house 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, and they need to go to a gas station. A child needs to be fed. Chris not got no problem helping. But as I told those bankers, they will at least call me when they come in to see if I can help. They're not going to call you. Okay? And that's why I say, OC, this country was built as a meritocracy. It was built on equal opportunity. And we have no excuse. With Dr. Stevens' generation, very few people had the ability that they could go off and get a higher education. And for those that did, they had to work like crazy. We talked about Roy earlier. Roy will tell you when Roy first came up from university, Roy was laying blocks. Construction. We had a group of people that when they went off and get educated, the powers that be did not want these people even opening their mouths. You understand me? They had books. What, they take away books from you too? All that kind of stuff? Yeah. They will come to your house and all that kind of stuff.
Come to the house to see what you're reading.
Yeah. This is the society we're living in. And that's why I say, OC, 20 years ago, Dr. Frank raised the issue about social housing. For the little money that he got, Dr. Frank tried to do the best that he could. Yet they turned around and criticized Dr. Frank for the type of house he built, forgetting that the issues that the houses need to be built. As I said to you before, every country around the world have a generational shortage of housing because people are living longer. The house that was being passed to the kids and the grandkids isn't happening. So there was a shortage. And rather than we sit down and and thank the other people for raising these issues. We sit down, we chastise them and chase them out of town. And that's why I called Dr. Steve. And I think it was about a year ago I called and apologized to you.
Yes.
When I said, I really feel sorry for your generation. Because when people get up and talk about Cayman and this and Cayman and that, let me tell you something. The generation that went before us, they fought for what they wanted. They fight for what they wanted. But we have grown people who are intolerant to pain, who are intolerant to being uncomfortable. Let me tell you something. Life was never designed to be easy, Life was designed to be living, but it's still what you make of it. And the minute someone get a little bit of discomfort or a little bit of disagreement, they freak out. The very system of politics that we have requires confrontation. It says you're going to have division, you're going to have this disagreement, you're going to have discord, you're going to have dissent. But what it also says that you have debate, you have dialogue, you have then you find consensus. We want the consensus without having the debate. We want the consensus without the dialogue. We want the consensus without the argument. The system is not designed like that. It's supposed to have a clash of ideas. And they keep sending these people who just want to just go through life and not believing that people need to be sometimes, after those hard conversations with people.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, at the end of the day, we live in a democracy, majority rules. But the people need to understand that for the amount of resources we have in this country and for the amount of misery that we have in this country, at some point you got to accept this can be deliberate. There is no way you could have a law that tell Caymanians they to access the beach and people don't want them on the very beach that the law says they'll be there. What does that tell you? So, we're going to have some fun.
Okay, we're getting almost there. 4 minutes left. I want to give Doc an opportunity for some closing comments, and then we'll let you have the final say, MP Chris Saunders. Doc.
Well, I would just like to...
What's the calling number for the show?
They should try 925-3261. That's the WhatsApp number.
Yeah.
They have to do it faster if they want to call in.
Well, they're listening, so you hear the answer.
Well, I just would like to continue the conversation some other time. This was a very interesting morning with Teresa, Pitcairn, and MP.
I'm going to interrupt you 1 second, Doc. Tell them to try 949-6990 if they're having difficulty with the WhatsApp number.
And I'm glad that Mr. Saunders invited me to come on the show with him this morning, and
for next Tuesday too, we'll start the show.
And, so, it's very enlightening, and I'm happy to always be assisting what's in the best interest of Caymanian people. I'm Caymanian to the core. My children, grandchildren, that's who I am supporting. And all the grandchildren and children in the Cayman Islands and their families, people's families, those are the people I'm supporting. And I'm so glad that I'm still able, healthy and vibrant, to be part of these discussions. And I hope that I can continue for a long time.
I hope so too.
Okay. We're going to grab the caller. Just want to say to the caller, it has to be quick because we're on a tight schedule as far as 10 o'clock is concerned. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, gentlemen. I have Dr. Maxfield, Mr. Saunders, and Mr. O.C. I don't call the radio station, so this is my first time in many years.
Thank you.
But it was quite interesting what Mr. Saunders was mentioning in early touch. It touched me very deeply. So 3 points I took away that hurts me as a Caymanian is that Chris mentioned that we're too nice as Caymanians, and we really are. The second point is, I think OC mentioned that we're aiming to have 100,000 people in this country. That will create a domino effect, not just because we're trying to aim for it, but because we need to look at all aspects. And I will mention specifically traffic. It's horrendous. That's number 2. Number 3, I believe that our government needs to make laws to protect the rights of the Caymanian people. When it comes to politics, I am wanting to hear that laws are being created to protect the Caymanian people so that we can have a piece of the pie in the Cayman Islands. And the last one, many campaigns have run over the years, and it makes reference to getting houses for Caymanians and making the opportunity for Caymanians to qualify for housing. Campaigns have come and go. And today, the only person that Mr. Saunders mentioned was Mr. Macfield, Frank Macfield, who created the idea of making houses or creating houses for Caymanians. Yes, there was a campaign, there were houses that are being put forward for Caymanians, but they went so quickly. That goes to show it's been many years that the Caymanians people have been waiting, not just waiting, but trying to qualify to get these houses. Gentlemen, thank you for your time. I believe we have much work to do.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, caller.
Mr. Saunders, you have 0 minutes for closing comments.
We'll continue. We'll continue starting show on Tuesday. I just want to thank everyone for taking the time for calling in. And like I said, the conversation continues next Tuesday on with Sterling. And I want to thank OC, and I want to thank Dr. Steve and Teresa this morning also, and for all those who called in and for those who messaged. Since I just want to say thanks.
And I would just like to say lastly, everybody who listened to this show, and the last thing she's talked about was the 100,000 people population. That is already here. And I just want to ask Caymanians if they believe that more is better than enough.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I want to thank both of you, as well as Ms. Teresa. Thank all those persons who contributed as well. Sorry I wasn't able to get into our history about barbers and things of that nature, the trivia today, but we'll do that on another occasion as well. Folks, remember to join Sterling Dwayne Banks at 12:15 for Talk Today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
I wonder they were talking about.
For the Record, proudly brought to you by
Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury, and JN Money.
From abroad to yard.
Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctors Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066. And Cayman Airways, call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And now, Barbados. And Digicel, Cayman's bigger, better network.
Information, entertainment, inspiration.
Covering Grand Cayman, Little Cayman, Cayman Brac.
Since 1976 till now.
Radio